Our invocation tonight will be led by Gray Johnson, who is on the leadership team at Hibernia Baptist Church, and he will also lead us in the pledge.
Hey, good evening. Again, my name is Gray Johnson. I'm a ordained elder at Hibernia Baptist, which is about a mile that way. And I just want to let you know that my pastor, Scott Yerka, he prays for each one of you daily, because we at Hibernia value everything you do for this county. So if you would, please pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to come together and exercise our democratic rights freely. We thank you for the men and women of this great country who have given the ultimate sacrifice to provide us these freedoms, and those that continue to provide us these freedoms. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you for the blood of your Son, Jesus Christ. We thank you for the men and women who volunteered to give up their time to serve this great county of clay that we live in. We pray that we always put your will before ours, and the will of the needs of the children before ours. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. The June 7th, 2018 meeting of the Clay County School Board will come to order. I'd like to welcome the citizens of Clay County. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend tonight's school board meeting. This meeting is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate openly and make decisions that will decide the future direction of our public schools and the education of our children here in Clay County. If you wish to address the board, there will be an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Please fill out a card, which you will find located in the back of the room, indicating the specific item number on the topic you wish to speak about, and turn it in promptly. You may turn it in to Mr. D'Agata, our attorney, right here. Raise your hand. There. Okay. No additional cards will be accepted once the board moves to the public comment section under presentations from the audience. Your participation is welcomed and appreciated. We have quite a few recognitions and awards tonight. First of all, I'd like to call on Ms. Condon, recognition of the Clay Legislative Delegation.
Yes, Madam Chair. I ask for this item to be placed on our agenda, and I know all 5 board members as well as our superintendent are extremely grateful for this, so I'll just take a second to explain what our recognition is. There is a portion of the Florida Education Finance Program that's called the .748, or whatever the millage is for that year, millage compression. It provides a supplement to school districts that levy the full millage that the state legislature authorizes every year, but generate less than the state average per FTE equivalent. So that raises the revenue that the state provides to school districts. This is a discretionary item that is not always authorized by our legislators. And in the last legislative session, our legislative delegation, Senator Rob Bradley, Representative Travis Cummings, and Representative Bobby Payne fought hard to have this approved. For a lot of districts that are very small, this only provides a couple $100,000 extra in revenue. But for Clay County, because of the number of students we have, it's going to provide an extra $1.9 million in funding. In addition, they also fought to get us the $100,000 that we launched the Community Partnership School at Wilkinson Junior High School this past year. So I wanted us to be able to have an opportunity to have a little photo op and present them a thank you, and just say to them how appreciative we are as a school district for this money.
Okay. If you 3 honorables will come up, we would like to come and present you with certificates, and the board, everybody go down. We're going to have a photo op.
Thank you all for what y'all do every day.
And I'll just correct that the community partnership schools was 100,000 last year, but it's a total of 400,000. So we launched, or they're launching one at Keystone, and then they have 2 more to come.
Thank you so much. Next, our Honorable Superintendent Addison Davis has a presentation to make to someone that we are very, very proud of.
You know what, from our, thank you to the chair, really excited about this announcement. And I know that we announced this about a couple weeks ago. But every year we're able to select an employee, a school-related employee of the year that best represents our core values of this organization. One that goes over and beyond and goes through a rigorous vetting process and is selected to represent Clay County as they transition on to be a qualifier for the school-related employee of the year for the state of Florida. In this case, we had a young lady who works at the ESC behavior assistant at W.E. Cherry Elementary School, who's been in this organization for 10 years. She's also worked, she's working hard with nonprofit organizations. She was awarded, I would say, around $10,000 for being named Employee of the Year. And this individual goes over and beyond for our parents and our students at W.E. Cherry. With her application and her interview process, she was selected for Florida's School-Related Employee of the Year. And it's my pleasure to identify and celebrate the individual that will represent Florida next year, and that is Miss Stephanie Melton. Please come up.
Stand up. Come on.
We have nowhere to borrow some money. He's got $10,000. Everybody remove friend. All right, give a hand back.
Okay, next, recognize students with perfect attendance. Superintendent Davis.
Hey, yes, ma'am. And, we talk about coming to school every day. As an adults, we have a hard time coming to work every day. And, regardless of we have individuals that have perfect attendance for the 17-18 school year. And you got to understand, there's days where we're sick, we don't feel good. Maybe you get older, you have some tests, you don't want to go. No matter what, these students continue to be champions in our school every single day by being attendants and being aware and being connected to the educational process. So this evening, I will identify individuals that have perfect attendance this year. And when we say perfect attendance, these individuals don't even have tardies. no tardies in the school whatsoever. They're here, they're ready to go every single day. So first and foremost, if I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry. When you come up, tell me. I'll probably let you say your own name. And then we'll come up here. If you'll stand, we'll get a photo for you and your family. And then we'll get a photo collectively with all of them. The first one, from kindergarten to 6th grade, 7 years of perfect attendance. I mean, 7 years. I mean, listen here, I have a hard time 30 days, okay? Just kidding, I'm at work every day, you know that. The first one is from Lakeside Elementary School is Rika Blaylock. And parents, if you want to come up in the middle and take pictures, you can come up in the middle and take pictures as well. Did I say it right? Like I said, Ricky Blaylock. Congratulations, young lady. All right, from Ridgeview Elementary School, Hunter Creech. Okay, from K to 8th grade, 9 years of coming to school every single day, regardless if it rains or if there's a hurricane, no matter, they come to school. Okay, from Green Cove Junior High School, Victoria Sanders. Once again, 9 years from kindergarten to 8th grade, Wilkinson Junior High School, Ellie Stewart. Sorry. Is it Eli? No, take two. Here we go, Wilkinson, Eli Stewart. Hold on one second. I saw him get out of the car, and I asked him, I said, you know what, you're excited to be here? He goes, tons of fun. Can't wait, excited to be here. Mom was dragging him out of the car. I tried to call a different person up. Congratulations, buddy. Ellie, if you're here, we got your certificate. Eli, I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you.
He is enjoying it.
All right, also, Wilkinson Junior High School. They make him go to school over there every day. 9 years in a row is Michaela Willer. Come on down.
Okay, next, recognition of Clay County Rotary Science Fair selections for the state competition. Mr. Terry Connor.
Good evening, board. It's my distinct honor to, first off, I want to bring up Mr. Chris Okamoto. He is our secondary science specialist for the county, and he did a great job. You know, one of the major tasks for a science specialist is to orchestrate our district science fair with the collaboration of the Rotary. And that was a huge undertaking, and he did an outstanding job this year and really brought some excitement to that event. So before we announce our winners, I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate him on a successful year, congratulate him on a lot of time that he spent in taking students down to the state competition as well as the international competition. A lot of time, hours, and money went into that. So I want to just give Mr. Chris Okamoto a little bit of round of applause for that. Mr. Okamoto is going to come up and he's going to celebrate the students that participated in these wonderful events.
So we have had a stellar year in science fair this year. We had our students excel both at the state and international levels, and I'll get to the, very excited about the internationals. So let's start by bringing up some of our participants. From Brady White from Greencone Springs Junior High, if you would come up. Brady White participated, seventh grader participated in the state science fair. And the Green Cove Science Fair coordinator is Jamie Shaw, so we also want to recognize her. So at the school level, these are the people that are making sure that all of the paperwork is in order, because they're very big on paperwork in science fair. All the paperwork is in order, all the projects are on par to compete at the state and international level, so we definitely appreciate them, so I'm inviting them up as well. Serenity DeRusi from Orange Bar Junior High, if you would come up. And their science fair coordinator is Sheila Ochiodroso and Ben Swan. And these are our junior high entries. Looking forward to great things coming from them in years to come. Couldn't be present with us here today, also from Green Cove Springs Junior High, Tatum Wade. She received the Dr. Benjamin Cole Award for Outstanding Achievement in Cellular Molecular Biology and Biochemistry. So very good job for Tatum. Jacob Milchesky from Fleming Island High School also went. He couldn't be here today, but he represented Fleming Island well. Dane Durrell from Ridgeview High received an honorable mention in the Physics and Astronomy category. He could not be here tonight. There's a lot of Ridgeview kids, so. Madison Oates, Haley Coughlin, and Abigail Davis from Oakleaf High School. For their team project, they received a special award from the Florida Foundation for Future Scientists. And Ms. Butler from Oakleaf High School is our science fair coordinator. But wait, there's more. Jason Chen from Ridgeview High School received a NASA Earth Systems Award and a special award from the Florida Associations of Science Teachers. The Chen, and there's another Chen. They could not be here. They're in China right now, so we'll excuse their absence. Zachary Barkin from Clay High School received fourth place in Physics and Astronomy and a United States Navy Science Research Special Award.
Goodness.
And then Ms. Coombe is their science fair coordinator. I didn't see her come in. Michael Chen, also from Ridgeview, took third place in biomedical and health sciences in that category in all of the state of Florida.
Goodness.
And Evan Collins from Ridgeview High School, if you would come up. I'm gonna take a deep breath before I read off his credentials. He took first place in Earth and Environmental category, and he was one of 8 in the entire state of Florida Yin Grand Award scholars, and he received a scholarship to International Science Fair in Pittsburgh. He also received a special award from the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University for outstanding research.
Goodness.
And here is Clay County Schools Science Fair State Delegation.
Very good.
So we have some reporting from the International Science Fair, which was in Pittsburgh. a couple weeks ago. It was a blast, to say the least. 1,800 countries, territories, and regions that our students competed against, and I'm proud to say that they both went home with an award. So, if we can cue up the video. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a 10th grader. So if you understood that, I applaud you. Next up, we have our very own Evan Collins, who is reporting from his project at International Science Fair.
Hi, my name is Evan Collins, and I was investigating an environmentally friendly, cost-effective, and chemically efficient fungicide for a fungus that's implicated in liver cancer, or hepatocellular carcinoma. So I was looking at bicarbonate solutions to see how these different chemicals could inhibit both the growth of the fungus itself and also help to detoxify the carcinogenic chemical that causes liver cancer in humans. And my studies will hopefully be lead to applications in the developing world where a fungicide can be developed in order to mitigate the prevalence of HCC, or liver cancer, that claims the lives of more than 600,000 people on an annual basis.
Goodness.
So through Science Fair, we are finding solutions to afflictions, problems that affect billions. And so that's the wonder of science and Science Fair. So Michael Chen and Evan Collins both accompanied me to Pittsburgh to compete against 1,800 projects, whether it be group or individual, from 81 countries, territories, and regions. We got to meet students from Kenya, Ghana, the Philippines, Thailand, Sweden, all over the globe, and see what they were doing in their individual countries in order to make the world a better place. So I'm proud to report that Evan placed third, and I'm going to say in the world, it was the international competition, third in the world.
Through the chair, we'll take that, buddy, in the world. You say it proud. Hey, I told St. John's we're coming from him every day.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, yeah.
We're not done.
Say it, keep
We're
saying
not
it.
done at selling. Michael, the 10th grader, who has great things coming in years to come, no pressure, received a special award from the Air Force Research Laboratory for his award in biomedical engineering.
Goodness.
So unfortunately, many of these students have now graduated and will be attending prestigious universities. But to those who are still with us for the next coming years, Brady, no pressure. 7th grader, we expect great things coming down the pipeline for our students, especially having gone to state and seen that level of performance. So we just applaud everything that you do, and we look forward to great things to come.
Thank you. It's amazing. Congratulations to all of you. We are amazed. Did you say Yale? Okay, thank you. Do you want a group pic?
Oh, sorry. I didn't want to crowd the party.
I know that all 5 board members and the superintendent, when we were watching the 2 videos, yeah, you understood every bit, everything they said. Ladies and
did.
gentlemen, excuse me, go ahead.
I said I did. Not.
You did not. I want to make an announcement that due to technical difficulties, we will not be available on Comcast tonight. However, we will be on the school board YouTube channel. These were difficulties beyond our control, and we assure you by our next meeting, it will be working. Okay. Next, recognize Kelly Watt and Christy Gomez for their work on the Clay History Curriculum. Terry Connor.
So last month, the superintendent, during his update, shared the exciting endeavor of our Clay County, our first ever inaugural kickoff of our Clay County history curriculum that we have embedded in our 8th grade. Over the last 2 weeks of May, we spent time with our students teaching them about the rich history right here in the midst of them right here in this county. This work began with the collaboration with the Clerk of Courts, Tara Green, and the archivist back in July. We held community forums with local historians. We've had a lot of our teachers come together and work in collaboration and developing this curriculum with the historical documents that really are the focal point of this curriculum. The students, they look and analyze historical documents from even back to the 1800s that are related to Clay County. And they explore the influences of the development of Clay County, and the curriculum asks the students to make decisions based on evidence as to which of those influences had the greatest impact on our county. And so through this curriculum, we're confident that our students right here will develop a greater civic pride as they gain appreciation for their hometown roots. And really, I just want to give a shout out to Ms. Stutter, because I know this has been on her heart's desire for many years, and I'm glad that we were able to bring this to fruition. But really, this could not have been done without the 2 people that I'm going to ask to come up here, and that is our secondary social studies specialist and instructional coach, Kelly Watt and Christy Gomez. If you could come and step right up. I will say the future looks bright for this curriculum. We are planning on embedding this throughout the year within the 8th grade curriculum. We are looking at opportunities for field trips to many of the historical sites here. These ladies are not through developing this curriculum. They've done a lot of hard work, but they are excited about the future of this curriculum. So Ms. Stutter, Mr. Superintendent, would you mind coming down for a picture with these 2? And then I'm going to hand the mic over to both of them to talk about the Social Studies Teacher of the Year.
All right, thank you. And we would like to take this opportunity to recognize 5 social studies teachers here in our district. And we'll call them up one at a time, and they're here with us tonight. So every year, the Florida Council for Social Studies provides us the opportunity to recognize our outstanding teachers. This year, teachers, administrators, and staff members were invited to nominate social studies teachers from kindergarten up through 12th grade who inspire student learning and creativity in their classroom. These teachers competed for 3 different awards: a Beginning Teacher Award, Excellence in Teaching History Award, and as the Outstanding Social Studies Teacher Award for elementary, junior high, and senior high. This year, we had the most nominations we have ever had. We had close to 80 nominations for teachers from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And tonight, I would like to introduce you to those 5 teachers who were selected to represent our district. So we're going to start off with Miss Linda Finn was selected as the Outstanding Social Studies Teacher of the Year for elementary, but she cannot be here tonight. And Mr. Ivy is not able to make it as well. They're both at a training. And so accepting on her behalf will be Miss Tricia Stewart, the Assistant Principal at Swimming Pen Creek. And I want to share a little bit about Linda because and I want to share really, these are awards and there's the certificates, but these teachers embody so much. I have pages and pages of all of the nominations and the incredible things that were said about our teachers. And so to know Linda Finn is to know that she is passionate about 2 things, and that is history and kids. And it gives me chills when I even think back to the nominations that were written for her and what the committee saw. She runs a dynamic classroom. These kids are pushed, they are excelled. But at the end of the day, these kids know that they have a teacher who is a role model, who demonstrates empathy. These kids know that they are cared for, that they are valued. And she is just a tremendous asset to Swimming Pen Creek, and I think represents the amazing work going on at the school. So thank you, Ms. Stewart, for accepting on her behalf. Mr. Michael Taft, I'd like to call him up to accept the award as the Outstanding Social Studies Teacher for junior high, and he comes to us from Green Cove Junior. Mr. Taft is phenomenal. What was really great about his nominations is, and you don't see this all the time, he was nominated by not only his colleagues, he was nominated by colleagues who were also parents in the district, and I think that speaks volumes. The thing about Mr. Taft is he is a kind of teacher that I think every teacher hopes they can work alongside at least once in their career. He is a champion for kids, and he is a champion for his colleagues. He is just a consummate teammate. He brings fresh ideas, he brings creativity, and he is constantly pushing these kids. His civic scores are phenomenal, as is Green Cove scores in general. We know good things are going to be happening.
No pressure.
Yeah. But, you know, his teammates appreciate his creativity, but the parents really appreciate his willingness to meet every child's individual needs. And so, thank you, Mr. Taft. All right. Next, I'd like to recognize Mr. Josh Burkhart from Orange Park High, and he received the award as Outstanding Social Studies Teacher in the Senior High Division. So here's the interesting thing about Josh, is that he just received the award for Outstanding Social Studies Teacher in the Senior High Division, but this is only his first year in the senior high.
What?
He was a junior high teacher. This is his first year teaching American history. He has been such a phenomenal asset to our district, but also to Orange Park High. His leadership in Orange Park High, his leadership in the district, but I'll tell you who probably appreciates him the most, more than any of us, and we appreciate him a ton, and that's his students. You walk into his classroom, you can walk in any day of the week, any time of day, the minute before the bell, the minute when the bell rang, and those kids are engaged, they're excited, they are working hard, and what he gets out of these kids it's something that it blows our mind. He's incredibly impressive. He teaches some of the standard level classes, and we know sometimes kids come to the high school and they're below grade level readers. That being said, I don't think he sees that. He sees what they can do, and on many of our Performance Matters assessment, Mr. Burkhart's classes are #1 in the district.
Wow.
And this is higher than even sometimes advanced classes. And we got a good social studies history program, so we're just very excited. So thank you, Mr. Burkhart. Swords up. Next up is Miss Cheyenne Best, and she comes to us from Shadow Lawn. Miss Best, she is being recognized as a beginning teacher in social studies. And you never know what you are going to see in her class. She has so much energy, so much enthusiasm. She shows kids that history is anything but dry and boring. She knows how to engage her kids, get them excited about DBQ project, get them excited about Achieve 3000. I hear that there's a song, Whip It. Oh yeah, we whip it all the time. There you go. So she has really brought a lot of energy and passion, and that gets transferred right back to the kids. And so fantastic job. Thank you, Ms. Best. And last but not least is for the Teaching American History Award. And Mr. Smith, that is Mr. Kevin Smith from Ridgeview High, and accepting on his behalf, he is grading AP papers.
Oh, boy.
AP test. It will be Miss Debbie Segreto, principal from Ridgeview High. Mr. Smith, to know him is to know that he brings excellence to everything that he does. He's a published author. He is a school leader, and he is a highly successful AP teacher. He opens his doors wide and encourages all kids to come and be a part of his rigorous program. And consistently, he has a huge, very high pass rate. His kids admire his work ethic. They come back, they know that they are in a room where they have a teacher, like all of our teachers, that greatly care for them as people and as students. So, Ms. Segreto, thank you so much for being here to accept it on Mr. Smith's behalf. He is fantastic. All right, thank you. All right, can we get a picture? Mr. Davis is getting his workout.
Yeah, that gets the next one too. Congratulations to all those teachers. That's exciting. Before we go on, though, I want to make a side note. I want you to know what literally lit a fire in me about the local Clay County history is when I finished reading the book Margaret's Story by Eugenia Price. I came one day at a workshop or a meeting, and I asked Mr. Davis, are we teaching these kids Clay County history? Because immediately after reading the book, I went up to the church at Hibernia, and I walked among the gravestones, the tombstones, and thank you for the pictures. Here's Margaret Fleming, 1851 to 1877. Here's Margaret Seton Fleming Biddle, October 26, 1887 to April the 11th, 1980. Goodness. But it made history come alive. And then I was talking to a friend of mine who told me how you could still see some of the trees that came from the water up to where the main house was. So I said, we really ought to teach these kids history because it's talking about Rideout, it's talking about Middleburg, and there's history right here before us. And I had chills when I went out and looked at the tombstones and the gravestones, and he got right on it. Terry Connor in the instructional department, and Kelly Watt and Christy Gomez, I attended one of the meetings where they were discussing what kind of curriculum, what are we going to do, and they have worked very hard all year to get this in place, and I don't think there's been anything that has made me more excited in all my years on the school board as this, and I just am so excited that the students are going to learn some Clay County history, and thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want y'all to, I want to share these pictures. Be sure and pass them back because I'm going to save them. Okay. Next, recognize 2018 West Whidden Scholarship recipients, Angie Whidden, Principal, W. Cherry.
Thank you, Ms. Studdard. However, right now, I'm Wesley's mom,
Right,
but I'm always Wesley's mom.
always.
So in the days of text evidence, which is so prevalent now, I figured I'd bring some text evidence. I've stood up here now for 9 years awarding scholarships in memory of my oldest son. In fact, it's been 10 years this last May, on May 14th, that he was tragically killed. And so in August of 2009, Orange Park Junior High and the athletic director, Robert Worley, they created the scholarship in memory of Wesley to where each recipient receives $1,042. They have to write an essay on how they make a difference in this world, and they have to have played a sport, of course, it's competitive here, in junior high or senior high, and they had to be accepted to college. And we get hundreds of applicants. And you might wonder why recognize this boy who on one tragic day chose to be a follower instead of a leader. But I want to read this. I found this in Wesley's backpack. And keep in mind, this is back before our FSA rights. This was good old FCAT writing time to where you were given the prompt. And my child would have never participated in that science fair. I didn't know what he was saying, but he could definitely play some football. And you'll understand what I mean here about this not really scholarly part at the beginning. So it says, "Dear Mom, I'm Wesley Whidden and I go to Fleming Allen High School." So you would think you know who his mom was. "I'm in 10th grade and you have really influenced me in my life. You've taught me no matter how much you do, how much you have to do, don't give up. All these years you've managed to take me to school, work, and still have time to take me and pick me up from football practice and participate in other activities. I'm so grateful to have someone like you. I've told you how you've influenced me. Now I'd like you to tell me what your favorite books are and the authors' names and why these books have influenced you. Have any of these books had characters that have influenced you to not give up and to do what you have to do? Like, has there been a book that you've read where someone's in a battle and takes charge and leads them to victory to get you like this? I'm one of the luckiest people in the world to have someone who cares about me like you do. I love you, and I know you love me back. Sometimes I don't think you're human for all the ideas you come up with to help me work things out. I just hope one day I'll be a reflection of you. I love you, Mom." And what's so cool is I have this, you can tell I've used this quite, it's in a frame by my bed. And I have his writing. Teacher, he wrote down what the teacher told him to revise, but in my eyes, it's perfect. So since 2009, we have awarded 67 scholarships in memory of Wesley to help kids go to college. So I say all that to say, I mean, we had a tragedy. I mean, it about killed our whole family. But we took something negative and made it into a positive. We made a difference in this world, just like my son did during his short 17 years in this world. So I want to recognize these kids tonight. We have 7, but we only have 4 here. One of them's in Europe. One of them's already started college. And one of them got called into work. So you have to admire that. So without further ado, oh wait, before I do that, I have to certainly thank the people responsible for helping me sell candy grams, sell T-shirts, sell anything not nailed down, work concession stands. I couldn't do this without my W. Cherry people, who are like my family, Fleming Allen High School and Orange Park Junior High. So I definitely need to thank all of them and Coach Goddard. And certainly Mr. Davis for helping us with getting transportation to our numerous activities. So without further ado, from Orange Park High School, and she will be attending the University of Florida or the University of Central Florida with a 3.7 GPA, we have Ashley Cruz. I need to add, we've already had the ceremony where they received their check and their plaque and their T-shirt at the Fleming Allen High School spring game. Stand up there. From Oakleaf Junior High School with a 3.9 GPA and is attending the University of Florida. In fact, she rearranged her visitation at UNF for tonight. It was supposed to be tonight. We have Megan Daskowitz. Then from Orange Park High School with a 4.18 GPA, and she will be attending Bethune-Cookman University. We have Carrington Robinson. I guess Carrington's not with us. And Abigail Johnson, I'll mention her. She's from Orange Park High with a 3.2, and she is in Europe. And this next guy, I swear, I loved his application because, of course, you know, I can see the 42. I can find number 42 in anything. This gentleman included a picture in his application of him playing football and being number 42. So he was kind of a shoo-in there. And he doesn't go to Fleming, believe it or not. He's Clay High, and his name is Ross Ledger. And Ross will be attending Santa Fe College in Gainesville.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, my last two aren't here, but I do want to mention them. Jacksonville does attend Fleming Allen High School, and he'll be attending Valdosta State University. And Alexandria Vaughn also attends Fleming Allen High School, and she is at school right now at St. John's, which she's attending right now in the summer and will be at University of Florida in the spring with a 3.7 GPA. So tonight, here are our three recipients. Take a picture of them.
Miss Whitten. Miss Whitten, get in that picture.
I didn't get my hair washed.
Your hair looks great. Get in that picture. Miss Wood, before you leave, through the chair, sorry.
Go ahead.
You know, I've only been here for 18 months, and you are a strong young lady, and you are a mentor to so many. You've impacted so many families, and I'm thankful to call you a colleague. I'm thankful to be a resident of Clay County for what you're doing for these young men and women, and I thank you for being a leader in this organization. So thank you for what you continue to do for us.
Thank you.
Amen to that.
So many lives have been affected for the good because of this scholarship, and I think it's a wonderful way to remember Wes. On a lighter note, I forgot to do something last month, and a few weeks ago, Ms. Bola and I happened to go to Peter Pan at Fleming Allen Elementary School. And now, Ms. Bola, don't you start laughing. So at the end of the program, they asked me to come up on stage. And they presented this proclamation, the honorary hook, presented to Mrs. Carol Studdard by the Fleming Island Elementary Drama Club to be used at the discretion of the chairman of the board of the Clay County School District. So, if any of y'all get
It was
out of
very
line.
serious. It was very serious.
Huh?
Yes, it was very serious. Yes.
Is that a microphone? I don't know.
No, it's a hook. If you get to talking too long on your presentations. But I promised him I would bring it to the board meeting, and then I forgot it. And so today I thought, I am not going to forget it again. But it was so funny. I thought Mrs. Bowler was going to fall out of her chair. She was laughing so hard. Okay, presenters. Community First Credit Union, check award to Clay County Education Foundation, Kathy Schofield, Executive Director of the Clay County Education Foundation.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us here to recognize and thank our community partners. And when I think of community partners, the Community First Cares Foundation comes to mind, and the name is so appropriate because they really do care. We have Lisa Ashworth with us, who's been a dedicated volunteer in the Education Foundation for so many years, as well as Tiffany Howard, who is fairly new to our foundation, but stepped right up to serve as the secretary of the foundation. When I think of our partners, I think of all the value that they bring to our community. And thanks to Community First and their generosity, this year alone, we've been able to reach so many children with outreach experiences from the MOSH, with books, math manipulatives, robots, scientific experiment materials, with web crews, with financial literacy applications, and with so many wonderful things. So we're very grateful to Community First and especially to Community First Cares Foundation. I'd like to introduce now Missy Peters, who represents the foundation.
Thank you so much for having me. I came here for a check presentation tonight. What I did not expect was to be emotionally moved. And I'm going to have to join you again. So
Yes.
thank you so much for letting me speak. But Community First Cares, for those of you who don't know, we were a credit union founded in 1935 for educators, by educators. And 5 years ago, we decided to start our own foundation to really funnel money back into the community. And so, you know, there's a lot of things that we're not certain about, but there's a few things that I am certain about, is that teachers are a vital part of making our communities vibrant. And teachers are also the most innovative people that we know. And so when the Clay County Education Foundation came to us and said, you know, we would like you to help support classroom grants, the only answer that we had was yes. And so we are so honored to play a small part in funneling money back into our classrooms, and just appreciate everything that they're doing to make that happen. So thank you.
Yeah, here. I got it. Oh, and let me embarrass someone. Lisa Ashworth and Ms. Karakas are all in the Rotary Club of Orange Park, and Lisa Ashworth is our incoming president as of the 1st of July. So. I had to put that in there, just for you. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, we don't have a showcase tonight. There are no scheduled citizen requests. This is the last call for comment cards. If anyone still has a card, if you would give it to Mr. Dagada here at the end. Or- All right. Thank you. Does anyone else want to fill out a card before we move along? I'll just put it in. I'll just put it in. There's only two. Okay. Next is adoption of consent agenda. There's one item pulled to discussion, C19. Oh, I do. Scratch that. I've got two cards now. Okay, we'll do public comments, presentations from the audience. Jennifer Berghardt.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Burkhardt, and my address is on file. I thought now would be an appropriate time for a reflection of the school year. Obviously, it's the end of the school year. And first, I wanted to begin with positives, because obviously, I know that oftentimes, since we only get 3 minutes once a month, we're always focused on ways to improve. So I wanted to focus on the positives this year. I have been able to work closely with the curriculum specialist for ELA High School, Rebecca Billiot, this year. She is amazing. She has been great. She's been instrumental in helping with PLCs, with practical applications of group work, which I felt I was struggling with. So I just wanted to give her a shout out and just say I feel like that it's been a very strong leadership with the curriculum for the high school ELA department, without a doubt. I would also like to mention, this is obviously the first year of Achieve being throughout all of high school. Yes, there are negatives, but I do want to say overall, in a class that was inclusion with primarily regular ed and ESC students, many of which were reading below level, not all. I mean, I had some level 5s thrown in, but I do feel it was a tangible way for our students to show improvement. I didn't teach honors, so I can't attest to, high school English honors classes, but for my kids, they wanted to know what their Achieve Lexile was. They were so proud of themselves at the end of the year when I could show that some of them, from December to May, I had one class where every single student increased by over 100 Lexile points, when the lowest was a 55-point increase from December to May. That was astronomical, and they felt so proud of themselves and validated, because once again, it's a program based on growth, not on, you have to reach a certain Lexile. They can see growth. So I do want to mention that the kids definitely were proud of themselves. And then lastly, this is foremost individually on my heart, because for 10 years, I was an inclusion English teacher. And I finally had to make the decision this year to move to regular ed for my sanity. And I feel like I'm the only one up here, but every single teacher who is in ESC, I don't know why they're not up here at every single freaking meeting, because this is insane what they go through. We come up here and say teachers need higher pay, they need better insurance, but my God, every single ESE teacher out there is working 100 extra hours for free, because we don't get compensated. There's not an incentive. There's no compensation for that. And for me, I had to choose, do I spend that extra 100 hours on top of the extra time, the overtime I put in with my lessons? Do I put that with my family, with a 3 and a 5-year-old and my husband? Or do I go in and continue to work every single weekend for an extra 8 hours, unpaid? And so I had to make a decision. I feel good with it, but I also just feel like we have to address the fact that out of the 112 positions posted, 41 of them are ESC right now. There's such a high turnover rate, and that should be our area of, I don't want to say most concern, but of major concern. With a high turnover rate, that's where the students need the most focus. And it's sad that I had to step away, but I had to do what was best for me and my family. So I just wanted to draw attention to that. All right, thank you.
Next is Young Smith.
Hi, my name's Young Smith. My daughter lives at 2433 Dogwood Lane. We're divorced. She still lives in the county. I just wanted to share that I've been a part of the community since 1981. I went to high school here. I've spent most of my life helping people on the fringe, on the edge, ones that are struggling. I worked in the school system as an SAP. I currently run a free food pantry on the west side of Jacksonville. There was a shooting tonight. When I talk to people, they usually tell me, you know, where the latest shooting was. They happen too much. No matter what side politically you are on guns or any of this, is just my question is, how are we going to improve the safety of our schools? My daughter goes to Orange Park Elementary. I know they've made, you know, they put up a fence. That's a step. It is. It's progress, but we have to keep it in the forefront of how can we help people on the edge, not just with physical safety from guns, but from, you know, one of the kids I helped as a SAP committed suicide by cop. There's psychological issues that have to be dealt with. There's kids, not that ESE kids are a problem, but you know, there's kids on the edge that have mental issues, and you just have to, we have to help everybody. My oldest kid was in the IB program, and she had difficulties from stress, and not that that's going to be what, you know, causes somebody to go off. We just need to be aware psychologically for the safe, you know, the physical safety, and again, no matter what your political agenda is, my prayer is that we can keep this in the forefront and help avoid another statistic here in our county. It's just too much. So that's it. My request is that what can we do to improve, to ensure and improve the safety of our kids? Thanks.
Okay, that's the end of the cards. Adoption of consent agenda. The items to pull to discussion was C19. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second. Have a motion by Ms. Condon, second by Ms. Bola.
A point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes.
And due to the fact that item C3, the personal consent agenda, involves a family member, and out of an abundance of caution and in the interest of transparency, I'll be abstaining from voting on item C3 and have filed the appropriate paperwork with Ms. Bush and Mr. Daggett. Now, I do have a discussion thing before we go further with our vote.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so we're into
All right,
discussion.
good.
So if you have the floor.
I talked to Mr. McCauley about item C15, advertise the 2018-19 Code of Student Conduct. And I don't know if anybody noticed it, but the graduation requirement, it has a new policy written that is senior attendance, and it's requiring that the students attend 94%, which I don't have an issue with, except that the part I have an issue with is that it's not accepting a note from a parent if a student was home with just a stomach virus and didn't go to the doctor. It's requiring, you know, a doctor's note on doctor's letterhead. And so I just felt that that's not fair to a lot of the students, especially your students that are your really dedicated, you know, students that are there. They're not skipping, they're not cutting. And I understand why that's been written and added to it. So I personally thought that it just needed to be, you know, have a little bit of leeway for a parent writing a note for their student having been homesick. I think, Mr. McCauley, how many days did you say it would be if they missed more than, was it 11?
When we talk about student attendance and absences, one of the things the state asks us to report every year is the number of students that miss 21 or more days. Right. That represents basically slightly more than 10% of the learning year, with 180 days, 10% being 18. The recommendation for the senior attendance policy, and I did have a chance to speak with Ms. Karakis about this personally, was that we wanted to make sure we didn't get into a situation where teachers were having to compromise their work by providing all of this makeup work to students who were missing, and graduation is coming up, and all of a sudden they don't either have the grades to get the GPA to walk or meet other qualifications. So it was putting a burden on teachers is what was happening. So we were looking for a way to encourage the seniors to be a little more attentive to their attendance. One of the things that was not on the list for excused was the parent note, and so Ms. Karakis was offering that as one possible solution to this
Possibly in
particular
addition to.
strategy.
Yeah, in addition to the
And-
others. I just don't want to, to have a student who really had legitimate absence that the parent wrote a note for, but didn't need to go to the doctor throughout the year, and then be told they can't walk when they're, in the top 10% or whatever. So I just think we need to be mindful that, not everybody goes to the doctor when they're
Absolutely.
home or,
Absolutely.
Or if they don't have that. I know of a student who the school bent over backwards to get him to graduation. His mom's on drugs, and he was out with the flu, and so there's nobody to write him a note.
Right,
And so he had too many unexcused absences. There were exceptions made, so I hope that you all would be able to
Yeah.
consider on a case-by-case basis.
And that's one of the things we did discuss last night was those one-off kinds of situations where the school administration can sort of make that call. This was not meant to create a barrier in any way. I personally thought it was a really innovative idea to get seniors a little more responsible as they exit our system, but we also don't want it to be problematic for kids like you just described that are in difficult situations.
I was surprised when I talked to one of our high school principals. I was shocked to hear how low attendance had been trending. And so I do think, I commend that we're trying to make an effort. Kids need to be there to learn. We're certifying their diplomas.
Well, I'm willing to try this because after having 3 daughters, I know there's this horrible disease that happens their senior year. It's called senioritis. And this might help it not be so contagious.
That's right. And through the chair, I agree. We will make sure we strengthen the language. It's every single day of parents, if kids are out, they have the opportunity to write to letters as well that we identify as excused absences. So we'll embed this as well, and it's good for me. I got a senior coming up, so my wife can't write a lot of letters for her, and I'm not going to, so she'll be at school.
And let the principal use discretion.
Absolutely.
If there
We'll
is
put
a
that in there.
situation like Ms. Condon just described, and we're not going to get a note from a
Yes, ma'am.
parent or anybody else, let's
Yes,
let
ma'am.
the principal use their discretion and not
Absolutely.
have it in policy as black and white and just say, no, you're not walking.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was my only concern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready for the vote now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Bush, my ability to vote has not appeared on the screen. Nothing came up.
Press that restore.
Oops. It says oops. Invalid access.
It really said it.
Ms. Cook, did you vote for me, Ms. Bush? I've got to log in again.
Do your hook.
Oh, Jeremy.
Got HR over there watching it.
Computers are wonderful when they work. Well, it's got the CCEA update on here now, so just vote for me on that last item. Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm going to keep this hook handy, Mr. Buckley. Okay. CCEA update. Is anyone here to speak for Renali Paiva? I believe she's in Estonia.
Yes, last time I checked, she was, I think, in Russia, or as she would say, Russia. And just before I begin, as a point of personal privilege, as a teacher at Orange Park High School, I got to tell you, Jennifer Burkhart and Josh Burkhart are two of the best things that have happened to our high school, and they are amazing teachers. And just as she spoke about, if she's still here, and I have the privilege of working with Josh in my department. She speaks a lot about treating teachers better. We are going to lose good teachers if we don't start doing better by them. So, and they are, two perfect examples. I can't even imagine trying to pay for insurance with those two cute kids they got running around. So on behalf of CCEA, I just really have one thing that I want to talk about tonight. We're very pleased to see the millage increase back on the agenda. We're looking forward to working with the board to educate the public about why we so desperately need this. I was personally, I guess, a little disappointed in all of the applause given to some of the legislators that came here earlier, considering what their votes have done to public education. The 47-cent increase that they passed this year for our FEFP it's a slap in the face to students and teachers and parents in this community that's all that they're willing to fund. It doesn't even keep up with inflation. I don't even know if you can get a nice mechanical pencil for 47 cents anymore. So if they're not going to fund us, we are going to have to fund us, and that's what this millage increase is about. And last month after the meeting, I wrote a blog, and I'm just going to read that tonight because it really summarizes our feelings about that. But I also wanted to make a point of clarification. Last month, Monroe County was brought up, and we were discussing about how we had used some of their language, and the point was brought up that, well, they only asked for a $500,000 for safety, so why are we asking for safety and operating expenses? But that's not entirely true. What they asked for, it wasn't even actually a full $500,000 for safety. Their language said that they just needed enough money to fund the rest of the underfunded mandate from the state, so they would only take as much as they needed. But the reason that they were only asking for the safety money is because they already have an extra $500,000 for operating expenses that they've had for the last couple years, and I believe a 1/2-cent sales tax for capital outlays. So their community has already been locally funding the things that they need. That's why they just have to ask for safety money this time around. So I just wanted to make sure that we were very clear on that. So the asking of this $1 million, we're just asking to do in one foul swoop what they've done over the last few years. So it seems kind of big because we're asking for $1 million, but it's because we're so far behind. It's because we've never had the guts to stand up and say, we need this money and we need this community to come together. And so as far as why we need it, I'm just going to read this post just because I think it really summed up the point of what we're asking for, because I'm just scared that the spin is going to be that, why isn't it all going to safety? How come you're wanting to take out money for other things? So my post was, last night the school board voted against asking the county commissioners to place a resolution on the August ballot to add an additional $1 million of ad valorem millage tax to be used for school safety and operating expenses. The additional mill would cost the average Clay County property owner approximately $100 a year. Not a month, a year. That's $8.33 a month. The increase would bring in approximately $10 million for our public schools, and that is money that is desperately needed. The county commissioners have insisted that the additional mill should only cover school safety, and while they made it very clear, what was a few months ago, that it's not their job to provide for the safety of our students, they seem to think that it's their job to weigh in on how we choose to spend our money. We continue to send lawmakers to Tallahassee who pass down unfunded mandates with one hand and give away our tax dollars to private and for-profit charter schools through voucher schemes with the other hand. Our public schools cannot survive on the money being begrudgingly handed down from Tallahassee, money we sent them in the form of sales and other taxes. We must raise additional money locally if we are going to provide our children with a first-class education, which I believe is everyone here's goal. Several school board members expressed concern over the wording of the resolution. They said that the phrase, quote, "to enhance the safety and security of students and staff and provide for necessary operating expenses for the school district," end quote, would confuse voters. They said that they felt like it would be pulling a bait and switch on the property owners of Clay County by not spending all of the money on safety. I have more faith in the people of Clay County. Our school system did teach them how to read. And provide for necessary operating expenses seems pretty clear to me. We are in the business of educating people. I'm pretty confident that we could spend the next few months explaining to citizens of this county why this additional revenue is so critical for the operation of our school district. And while safety is extremely important, the addition of one SRO or other security personnel at each school site is not going to solve the problem. If the state truly believed it would, they would have funded the mandate. Anything less than that is just window dressing, because I'm sure they want to keep our children safe as well. According to Internet Legend, when Winston Churchill was asked to cut arts funding to support the war effort, he replied, "Then what are we fighting for?" While there's no evidence that he ever actually uttered those words, the sentiment behind it rings true for many of us in education. If we limit ourselves to only spending additional revenue on safety, then I must ask, what are we educating them for? Are we keeping them safe only to be crammed into overcrowded classrooms, contrary to the intent of the Florida's class size amendment? Are we keeping them safe only to provide a class set of textbooks in their classrooms? Because, you know, they can access the text online. Really? Many of our students do not have regular internet access at home, and studies show that they retain more information when reading from an actual book. Are we keeping them safe only to give them teachers who have to work a second job just to pay their bills? Are we keeping them safe only to be stuck in 20-year-old portables instead of permanent facilities? Are we keeping them safe only to send them to school with fewer and fewer electives and resource classes? Are we keeping them safe only to put them in a school system that can't attract and retain qualified support personnel because the cost of insurance leaves their paychecks in the negative, forcing them to pay the district to work here? Are we keeping them safe only to turn their guidance counselors into glorified standardized test proctors? So we have to ask ourselves, what are we fighting for? Our schools have been threatened for years by legislators who have hacked away at our budgets and left us to fend for ourselves. This is a threat we can neutralize here in Clay County by asking our local community members to step up where our lawmakers have failed us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mayberry. Next is the CESPA update. Is Teresa Dixon here? Anyone speaking on behalf of Teresa? No? Okay. Superintendent's update and presentations.
Okay, this, for the first time, I'm not going to do a superintendent's update. I'm going to go directly to acknowledging some schools and for our Champions of Change. This, every year the Department of Education allows us to identify schools that meet certain criteria relates to volunteerism. And in this case, we have a number of schools that have been identified as Golden School Awards from the Department of Education, which recognizes exemplary programs for students and community involvement in education. Individuals who are identified as Golden School Awards must have a minimum of 80% of their staff that have participated in related training to volunteerism. They have a school volunteer coordinator that is designated for recruiting, designated for placement and training for the supervision of school volunteers while on campus. In addition, they must have a total number of service hours that equal twice the amount of number of their FTEs at their school. For example, if they have 2,000 students, then they have to have over 400,000, no, 400,000 is a lot. 4,000 is a lot. No, never mind, no one's getting an award here tonight. Sorry, I just, if you have 2,000 students, you need 4,000 volunteer hours. So we have a number of schools we want to highlight. So if I call your name, your school's name, please come up and accept this award, and congratulations for your hard work. For the first one is for 5 years in a row. This is Argyle Elementary School. Mrs. Ward, come on up. Ms. Bola wants to give this one out. Five years in a row, Orange Park Elementary School. I'm going to accept this on her behalf. Okay, here you go. 5 years in a row, Ridgeview Elementary School. Mrs. Roche. I know, right? 5 years in a row for the Golden School Award is also S. Brian Jennings Elementary School. Mrs. Love. All right, we have Coppergate Elementary School. Mrs. Dial. Fleming Island Elementary School. Sakala. Fleming Island High School. Miss Finley. Green Cove Springs Junior High School. Ms. Halter. Keystone Heights School. Did he leave, Mr. McWilliams? He was here earlier. You can accept that. Make it come get it. Hold her hostage. Yes, ma'am. McCray Elementary School. Mrs. Tammy Winkler. Orange Park High School, Mr. Clayton Anderson. Patterson Elementary School, Mr. John O'Brien. Last one, Ridgeview High School, Mrs. Debbie Segredo. All right, we're going to accept it. We're going back to Argyle. Just kidding. Thank you for what you do, for allowing volunteers to come in and work with our kids and work with your schools. You do a great job. Thank you for being leaders in this organization.
Might need to make 2 lines. Tall one's in the back. Come on. Poor Edison. Poor Mr. Van Zandt. Amazing. And congratulations to all of you. Okay, now we're going to the discussion agenda. D1, School Resource Officer and Safety Agreement with Clay County Sheriff's Office, July 2018 through September 2018. Before we get into these, is there anything you want to say?
Good.
Good, okay. I'll entertain a motion.
So move to accept it?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Bola, second by Ms. Condon.
So
Any? Yeah.
Sorry,
Are
I'm
you
sorry.
awake?
Yes, I am. Sorry. I'm like, yeah, we're good to go.
I
I don't know if
thought-
you want me to say anything about update. Yes, ma'am.
It's
I
not
do
good
want to.
after all.
Yes, ma'am. So,
Okay, yes, let's let
on
Mr.
D1,
Davis.
sorry, through the chair, I want to make certain. So this proposal is that we have to cover resource officers in junior high schools, 2 relief officers, one intruder trainer through the Clay County Sheriff's Office. The funding will be from now until September 30th. I did speak to Mrs. Kapalousis today. She's in, right now, our current cost for this initiative is $245,000. There was an increase, and that was through training, through expenses, through benefits, and through different numbers as it relates to how much these individuals actually cost. Ms. Kapalousis did call me today. She said that the BCC potentially would be willing, she'd have to have a conversation with them, be willing to cover the $245,000 if the school district was willing to have a 3-year agreement resolution to use our gymnasiums in order to allow, whether it be PAL, YMCA, to continue to engage in our school districts and use after hours, and use our gyms in order to give places for kids to participate in the evenings. I told her this was 2 things to be up to the board, and whether or not we would approve this resolution. In addition, we would probably need to, while we have a couple weeks to have a conversation about it, Dr. Kemp will run any financial analysis that it would potentially cost. We would own any coverage as relates to running HVAC, making certain that we have staff on site for security reasons. But this was proposed today, and so I present to the board. Ms. Kapalousis, we good? All right.
Okay. Any discussion on this, board? Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. The next item is School Resource Officer and Safety Agreement with Clay County Sheriff's Office for October 2018 through September 2019. The first one, ladies and gentlemen, was to finish out this year.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is for next year. Did you want to say anything else?
This D2?
Huh?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, D2.
So here on D2 through the chair, this is our agreement to make certain we put resource officers in every one of our high schools, along with Bannerman Learning Center, in addition to have 4 resource officers in our junior high schools through the Clay County Sheriff's Office. And then that will also look at having 2 relief officers, 1 intruder trainer, 1 lieutenant, 2 sergeants, and an investigator. There was an increase of over $119,000, and just because we had differences in reference to what the average salary would be, so that's just the increase of that. Feel pretty solid about this, and look forward to implementing this by day 1.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval. Second.
Was that Gilhousen? Okay. Have a motion by Ms. Condon, second by Ms. Gilhousen. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. The next item is D3, School Safety Interlocal Agreement with the City of Green Cove Springs and Green Cove Springs Police Department for 2018-19. Before I get Mr. Davis, did you want to comment on this?
Yes, ma'am. D3 here, you'll see an increase as well from previously presented. And just to make certain that what we are given to the Clay County Sheriff's Office is consistent to what we're given to the town of Orange Park and also Green Cove. So the increase would be to make certain that we have the same identification of numbers, so there's equity across the board.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Caracas, second by Ms. Bola. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. D4, School Safety Interlocal Agreement with Town of Orange Park and Orange Park Police Department for 2018-19. Mr. Davis?
Same thing, ditto as last time.
Ditto.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Ms. Carricka, second by Ms. Condon. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Can you believe we finally have interlocal agreements? Finally. That's wonderful. Okay. I'm still waiting for it to come. Okay. Next is D5. Consider for approval and adoption a resolution requesting the Board of County Commissioners of Clay County, Florida, to place a referendum on the ballot for the August 28, 2018 primary election regarding an additional 1 mil of ad valorem millage tax. I do have one card on this item. Mary Lib Stevenson.
Mary Deb Stevenson, 3691 Wingfoot Circle, Green Cove Springs, Florida. I wanted to address you about this resolution. I am in support of school safety. I have children and grandchildren in public schools here in Clay County, and I would really like to see the money funded for this, but I would like for it to be designated. I do have a handout for everyone.
You can give them to Mr. Davis or Mr. Gagata.
I believe y'all have seen these numbers before. You've held multiple workshops with each of you and the county commissioners and Sheriff Darrell Daniels. He's explained to you the expense that we have today, with the county paying 62.4% of the cost, and y'all are 37.53%. He's outlined the budget needs for the SROs. For the year 2017-2018, it's $1.4 million. And then he estimated how much he needs for personnel, employee benefits, operating expenses, and capital outlay, and the number comes to 4.5. He's explained to each of you that in the year after, and all the recurring years that y'all are putting, the 4 years y'all have in mind for the resolution, that he needs a recurring amount of $5.6 million. The elephant in the room is who's paying for this. And I'm willing to pay for school safety if you would designate the funds. He says that he needs 4.5 this year, 5.6 the following years, and yet your resolution to raise the millage rate 1 mil would generate $10 to $11 million. So that's about twice as much as what you need for school safety, school resource officers in all the schools. He's also explained to each of you that for $2.4 million, we could have school safety employees, the guardians in the elementary schools, and the sheriffs, the SROs in the middle school and the high schools. So now we're talking about only $2.4 million. Like I said, I really would like to see this funded. And I'm afraid that with the ballot, the resolution language as you have it, that a lot of people are going to oppose you. They're going to see that you want it for additional financing, additional necessary operating expenses is the language of your resolution. I would like for y'all to consider voting no. And one of you that voted no last time must be planning on voting yes this time. I believe that was last time Betsy Condon and Ashley Gilhousen and Janice Carricka voted no. So one of you must be planning on changing their mind tonight. Thank you.
Okay, that's all, the end of cards. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Ms. Kerekes, a second by Ms. Bola. Any discussion?
I have some discussion, and that would be me who's going to change their mind tonight, Ms. Stevens. I asked the superintendent to place this item back on the agenda after I had an opportunity to address some of the issues that I had with it when it was first brought to us last month. And thank you to the staff members. Well, Dr. Legucco's not here, but I spoke with her. Dr. Kemp and I had a conversation about it, Mr. Davis, and the concerns that I had been answered. So we've gone round and round with this between our workshop and the workshop with the county commission, and we realized we need this. And so the bottom line is the community is demanding that we make our schools safer, and we have to fund it somehow, and we know that Tallahassee has not given us the dollars to fund it. So I'm proud to support it tonight to make our schools safer. And yes, if there is any additional funding, there are so many necessary expenses that this district has. So I fully support this tonight.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say that there's been a lot of discussion about property values of $100,000. I asked our property appraiser how many properties in Clay County are valued at $100,000, and the answer was very few. The average property value in Clay County is $171,000, with the median being $198,000. So for most property owners, this is an extra $200 burden per year. In addition, 67% of property owners in Clay County are residential. And so while certainly I was the one who didn't vote yes on the school safety officers, I wanted a resource officer in every school. And I think that our community does want safer schools, and I think they want officers in every school. I was the one who proposed a compromise last month of a $500,000 to go after what the sheriff has said, the $5.6 million. I don't disagree that there's other needs in the community, in the school district for additional funding, but I don't feel confident that we have scrubbed every single line item of our budget to look for additional ways that we can fund things differently, to think differently. That's why I pulled the insurance discussion, the casualty one, from the consent agenda, and we'll talk about that one when we get to it. I won't confuse the issues, but that's why I pulled it, so that I think we need to look differently, look at things differently. I also read a lot of comments, because lots of people in our community talked about these things on social media, on newspaper reports, the comment section. I heard personally from a number of citizens, and I had lots of feedback that we're not unwilling to help fund safety, but to put it on the backs of the property owners is only a small portion of who lives in Clay County, who works in Clay County, who spends money. There has been lots of talk about people willing to support a sales tax. And so, and I recognize that's capital money, but we know that a lot of our needs in the school district could be funded with that money that would free up other money that we could then put towards some of the things that we want to do for our employees, such as insurance and things like that. I'm not disagreeing that those things can happen. I also think that you can fund a lot of things under safety. For instance, every one of our schools has someone who sits at the front desk. They work in safety because they are the first line of defense when someone's coming to enter the school, because of the way that we've done these things. I just feel like we need to be completely transparent with the voters. The school district, because of the history that we had prior to me being on the board, falling below the 3% required reserve fund balance, we don't have a history of good money management that the community feels confident in. And so I think the feedback I've gotten is that this is too vague. So, I'm not going to support it tonight, as I didn't support it last time.
Any other discussion?
Madam.
Ms. Bola?
There have been a lot of people who have said that this is too big. Some and many have said this is not enough. And for all of us, we know that safety is first and foremost, that this $1 million will definitely be for safety, but, and I hate to say it this way, but Sheriff Daniels has a way of upping his budget. And we may be saying 5.6 at this point, a half mil wouldn't cover it. We would have to look to the future, and we would have to look for more. And we're not talking just the physical bodies of people in the schools, we're talking about the hardening of the schools as well, which can be part of that operating budget as well. And in the last meeting, I said, I specifically asked the superintendent, can we educate the public so that they are truly aware of how we are going to spend this money? And he assured me that, yes, that would be part of what we would be attempting to do, and I would be willing to help in whatever way that I can. When we were in Tallahassee for the Clay Day, I don't know if you recall, Mr. Davis, but Senator Manny Diaz was speaking to us. And I was about to ask a question, and he cut me off midstream because I wanted to find out what were the legislators suggesting that we do to help fund the directives that they were making to us that they were not necessarily funding. The required local effort, I think, is where it came up. And I specifically said, you know, what are we doing? We were asking as a school board association that the required local effort not be rolled back. I always get confused with the rolled back and not rolled back, and that it remained the same. And since 2011, the required local effort millage has been reduced every single solitary year. Now, I realize it's in relationship to the amount that our houses go for, the value of the value adjustment, all of that, but it's not meeting the same costs any longer. He cut me off and basically told me during our group meeting that that would be a challenge that as a county, we would have to handle. And I thought, whoa, it's not coming from the legislature, even though it's the state's responsibility to provide adequate funding for public education. We're not getting adequate funding for public education. We've been struggling to provide our teachers and employees a living wage. And indeed, for many years, they've done without any increase. We do not want to erode the expertise of our faculty and lose excellent teachers to other counties or to the state north of us. I keep hearing about Georgia, and we are going to start losing people to those locales. We need to ask the voters to support us in this initiative, and we need to do whatever possible to educate them as to why an additional mill is imperative. We need the money now. We haven't been getting it from the state, and they're going to give us less in the future.
Any further discussion?
I would just add, we have a plan in place because of these interlocal agreements and the school safety officers in the elementary schools as opposed to the resource officers that we can afford in next year's budget. We've budgeted for it. We have the money to cover it. So my question is, how are you going to convince the voters of the need, first of all, for our safety initiatives? Second of all, when I'm looking at a comprehensive school safety plan, warm bodies are important, but so is school hardening. So for me, I can't support this when I feel like we have the personnel security portion of it covered for next year, but where's the money to pay for metal detectors? Where's the money to pay for fencing, for bulletproof glassing, for all of the capital needs that we have to make our schools safe? We're not planning for that with this endeavor. So my opinion hasn't changed from our last meeting.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may, I just want to make it clear for the record and for the public, in collaboration with the county attorney who does work for the supervisor of elections, I have provided to the board, and what you're voting on right now is the version that I provided to the board last night, I think it was, that basically brought us into the 15-word requirement in the ballot title. I'm just going to read it. Approval of 1 mil of ad valorem millage tax for school security and operating expenses. And I've also changed ballot question to ballot summary. I just wanted to make that clear.
I think everybody's spoken but me, right? I understand where you're all coming from. But I want to tell you, even as of today, the cost went up. I mean, it's been going up. Every time you go to a meeting, you come back and say it's going to be more. So today, it's more again. I don't know what it's going to be in the future, but that's really beside the point. We, as a board, are going to do everything humanly possible to keep our students safe, our faculty safe, our staff safe. There's not a soul anywhere that wants something to happen to one of our kids. In my heart of hearts, I feel like with so many things that have been on TV, with Parkland and so forth, I feel like safety is first and foremost in everyone's mind. Even people who don't have kids in school, you know, they may have grandkids or neighbors who they love or whatever. I feel like that the public will support helping us be able to make our schools as safe as we possibly can. There's no guarantees, but we can't be faulted for not trying to do everything that we can to make it a safer district. Now, it seems to be rubbing some people the wrong way that we put for safety and operating needs. Now, y'all have sat through many executive sessions, just as I have. We have heard needs from different departments. We have had employees tell us that they're having to pay the district in order to have insurance. I'm ashamed of that. When we're starting to lose good teachers because they can't afford to have insurance, I mean, this is insane. We can't give a raise. We can't help insurance. And this is a chance that I feel like the public is beginning to understand the dire straits we're in. I mean, we netted 47 cents a head. I mean, now I did hear at a meeting the other day that Representative Cummings is going to be the allocations, budget, whatever, allocations chair next year. That's what they said at the meeting we were at. Hopefully that will help. With him and Senator Bradley, both from Clay County, I am hoping and praying that we can get some help. But I've hoped and prayed for many years sitting here on this school board, and it hasn't happened yet. So I feel like now we throw ourselves on the mercy of the public, and we say we need some help. We are not funded properly to do what we need to do to have a quality education for our kids and be able to pay a respectable salary and fair insurance for our employees. And if we had a little extra money and we could do some things that we have not been able to do for the last 5, 10, 15 years, I say, let's do it, because it's going to make Clay County better for our kids and for people wanting to move to Clay County because of the reputation of our schools. You know, ladies, for 30 years, I delivered newcomer packets with my welcome service that I sold in 2010. And the one thing that everyone told me, if they had children, they moved to Clay County because of the reputation of the schools. Now, you know, we were pretty proud of ourselves, but the time has come that we've got to step up to the plate and get the public behind us. The teachers are behind us, our staff is behind us, and we need to get out and inform the public of our needs. I'm not ashamed to say that I'm embarrassed about what we can't do for insurance, what we can't do for raises. I don't even, you know, we need help, and I'm asking the public to help us. And that's the way I feel at the end. Let's call for a vote.
Madam Chair,
Can I just say that I don't want to be painted in the light that I don't agree with everything you said, and that if I don't vote for this, I don't care about our employees and I don't care about those things. I don't agree with the wording that's going on the ballot, and that's why I'm not supporting it. It has nothing to do with how I feel about our employees or their needs. And you can roll your eyes at me all you want to.
I
That's
haven't
rude.
rolled my eyes.
You just did. And cutting your eyes at me and rolling your eyes doesn't mean that I don't support our employees, and I don't. And
I don't think one board member should be attacking another board member right now, Ms. Condon. Do you have anything else to say about this agenda
You just
item?
interrupted me and cut your eyes at me, and I don't appreciate that.
Are y'all ready for the vote? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries 3-2 with Ms. Condon and Ms. Gilhousen dissenting. Okay, the next, D6, public hearing to approve as advertised proposed amendments to school board policies 1.01, the district school system, 1.02, the district school board, 1.03, the superintendent of schools, and 1.04, the district administrative and supervisory staff. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address this subject? If not, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Karikas, a second by Ms. Ms. Bola. We have worked many workshops and hours on trying to clean up this section of the policy, and we're going to be taking each department one at a time. I think next is HR, and we are cleaning up our policy, things that need to be done as we go along. So we have a plan to completely overhaul our policy. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. D7, Human Resources, we had no special actions. D8, public hearing to approve as advertised the 2017-2018 and the 2019-2020 Exceptional Student Education Special Policies and Procedures SP&P Manual. I'll entertain I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to address this item? I close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Ms. Karikas, a second by Ms. Condon. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. C19, approve the 2018-19 district's property casualty active assailant insurance renewal submitted by Arthur J. Gallagher and Company. Broken. What's broken?
Broker. I don't know.
Maybe it meant broker instead of broken. This item was moved to the discussion by Ms. Condon. So, Ms. Condon, you have the floor.
Okay, so
Excuse me, do we need a motion and a second first before we have discussion?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and get a motion in a second.
I'll move approval.
I'll second it.
Have a motion by Ms. Gilhousen, second by Ms. Bola. Okay. Now for discussion, Ms. Condon.
I pulled this to discussion because when it's $1 million expense And as I said last month, I feel like when we make expenditures of large amounts, that they should be on the discussion agenda and not on the consent agenda. But the other concerns that I had, and I expressed some of them at the agenda review workshop, and then I really thought a lot about some of the questions Mr. Daggett had, as well as I looked a little further at the executive summary that the lady gave us when she presented at the workshop. So I'll first look at page 4. It lists our lost experience. And virtually all of the past 7 years of losses have been right around less than or right at $1 million. And all of our policies have a deductible that we have to pay of $100,000. And so almost all of our losses have been out of the school district's pocket. And so my question, and what I'd like to move tonight, is that we delay voting on this renewal to our next board meeting, since we have the luxury of meeting on June 28th. And so we will still meet the time frame of the June 30th deadline for renewal. But I'd like for them to quote what it would cost to fill the gap between the $0 up to $100,000, because it could be that we could end up spending less money by having more insurance coverage in those deductibles. And so that's the reason I pulled it to discussion. So I'd like to move that we table this into the next board meeting.
I'll second that.
Wait, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Would you
I can remove
withdraw
my
your
second.
motion, Ms.
Yes.
Milhausen? And would you withdraw your
Yes,
second?
ma'am.
And you know, when we were at that workshop the other day, the lady, she was asked this question and we didn't get a clear answer. I think she was going to look into, I never heard any more about it. Did y'all, you remember? I can vaguely remember us talking about this at the workshop.
And then the other thing that occurred to me that I didn't say earlier is on the Guardian program, Mr. Daggett specifically asked her if they were willing to write that, ready to write that policy. And she was very vague with her answer. And the policy for those guardians, if you'll remember back, has a $300,000 deductible, not a $100,000 deductible. So I just feel like I'd like us to have more information before we vote on this.
You know, usually we have a workshop followed by a special meeting just for this. So we would do a workshop and then a special meeting where we would then vote on it. I don't know why we
Yes,
didn't do it that
so
way this
through the
year.
chair, I think we, without a doubt, we can have a workshop if we want to. We'll be gladly go get additional information in order to see if we can fill that gap between $0 and $100,000, and we don't disagree as a district. So we'll push Gallagher and figure out what we can do in order to bring a better plan back.
Okay, let me get back to parliamentary. All right, you withdrew your motion a second, and then who made you made
I
a
made the motion,
motion?
And I second.
And you seconded.
and my motion was just to table.
Move to table to the June 28th meeting. Okay, I think really that's a good idea, because I think, and if it takes a workshop, or when Dr. Legutko gets back, we'll see if they feel, if she and Mr. Davis feel like we need a workshop, we'll call a workshop. Okay. So motion to table, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Next, D9, renewal of employee benefits for 2018-19. I do have two cards on this item. First, Candy Page. Is there a Candy? Oh, there you are. I was looking on the other side.
My name is Candy Page. I live at 1866 Manitoba Court South in Middleburg. I started my teaching career in 2002. Back then, Clay County was the place to work. Each year, I received a step and a raise when I went back. Insurance costs were considerably less. After several years, in addition to the rise in healthcare coverage, I stopped getting raises or steps, and the county failed to increase their portion they paid towards the employees' coverage. In fact, you haven't increased that since the year 2010. Therefore, my take-home pay now is less than I brought home before 2012. I have to carry the employee and spouse coverage. So after a few years, I decided to be proactive and see if I could find insurance elsewhere. There's 2 points I would like to make about that. In the marketplace, although I qualify based on my income for a subsidy, because my employer offers health care coverage, I cannot get that subsidy. Also, the difference in your enrollment period and the marketplace puts it to where I would have to get a short-term policy, which doesn't cover a lot and sometimes does not cover pre-existing conditions. During these years, I've appreciated the small steps that you have taken to occasionally give your employees a little bit of extra money. Like in January 2017, when we had a break from our health care coverage costs that whole month, I had an extra $800 that month. I paid $394, 20 pay periods. If you do not accept the board, the CCEA's proposal and increase for their new, is it C6 or something, and you increase what you pay, I'm going to bring home less money than I brought home the first year I taught in Clay County. And I am one of your good teachers. Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about, right there. Okay, Joel Miller.
Good evening. My name is Joel Miller, and my address is on file. I have taught in Clay County for 11 years now. I recently had the pleasure of getting a new therapist. One of the few things our insurance plan does cover well is mental health therapy, and I really do appreciate that. When I told the therapist that I have 3 jobs, and I'm not talking about I do 2 hours here and 3 hours there. I mean, I have a job where I work 20 hours per week and a job where I work 10 hours per week in addition to being a teacher here. When I told her that, her response, I guess her professional response was, wow. But that's the situation I'm in. That's the situation a lot of us are in because we cannot afford it. It's not so much about the salary, but we can't afford to take care of our kids. And I'm not talking about the students. I'm talking about my kids, Evan and Liam. My son Evan is on the autism spectrum. He goes to Doctor's Inlet. He's with Karen Ritchie's class, and they have done a fantastic job there. He needs behavioral therapy. He needs occupational therapy. He needs speech therapy. I was going to get onto the HSP plan because it had that nice family out of pocket of $6,800. That's looking more like $13,000 now, so I'm going to have to insure both of them outside of the district, as I have done for the past, since they've been alive. And I'm in a situation where I don't really know what to do, and so I'm trying to figure out how am I going to stay. Where I work, Oak Cliff High School, we've lost 22 teachers for various reasons. We have lost 5 teachers to the state of Georgia as a result of pay and insurance benefits. Their very best plan is there. I was talking with David and Chris Novelli. I was talking with them tonight. We're losing them to Georgia. Dave Novelli has been Teacher of the Year at Orange Park High and at Oak Cliff High. So one of you said, let's see, Ms. Bowl, you said we do not want to erode the expertise that we have, our base of expertise. We have eroded the expertise that we have. We are in trouble. But we've got to figure out something we can do. At Oak Cliff High School, we need 8 math teachers right now. In order to be 6 through 12 certified in math, you have to understand calculus, at least at one point in your life. You can be an engineer, you can be a programmer, you can go do something like that, or you can teach in the schools and you can make $39,000 plus have to pay a ton for insurance. If I were to go to St. Johns County, I would save somewhere between $7,000 and $9,000 per year for my family on insurance, because they would contribute $12,000 a year, $12,030 for just me, and if both Julie and I went there, $14,557 for a family plan. And so we talked about, I heard one of you say that we don't have a history of good money management, Ms. Condon, I believe you said that, and I agree with that, because we have not raised the contribution for benefits. We have relied on military spouses. We have relied on the reality that people could get coverage elsewhere, but now those of us that have 2 people in the county, we're getting hammered. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to pay for it. I do know that if I were to insure everyone in Clay County, I would be bringing home about $530 a year. A check next year. I would be, at a pretty low position, and you could only imagine if I was a support employee that I might actually have to write a check back. And that's for coverage with a $20,000 family out-of-pocket max. That's more than I'll bring home. Thank you for your time.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval.
I'll second.
Who seconded it?
I did.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Condon, second by Ms. Caracas. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. School Board Attorney remarks.
None. I hope that was short enough.
Yay. School Board member remarks. Oh, on the legislative liaison, what I did was I sent in, but it is not that way. We need to appoint an FSBA. And as I understand it, Mary Bola is going to be the legislative liaison, and this Betsy, you're the alternate?
Yes.
Yeah, and Betsy Condon is going to be the alternate. Is that correct?
Well, that's how it is this
That's
year.
how it is this
So we
year.
need to put it in for
All right.
next year. So since Ms. Condon is going to be the chairman of the legislative committee.
Well, wait a
either
minute. That's right.
one of us
That's
need
why
to
we're
make
making Mary
An alternate.
the chairman, and then
The
or
chair,
No,
she's the representative.
Mary, you will be our legislative
Liaison.
liaison, and which one you're going to be on it anyway.
I'm on there anyway.
Well, why don't you?
Unless, Ms. Gilhousen, do you want it?
Yeah, yeah. Do you want
I
to
go
be?
anyway, so I don't mind being the alternate.
Okay, all right, so we will resend the note to FSBA, and then whoever's chairman in November, just tell them that this will come up this time next year. So whoever is chairman in November doesn't need to appoint, they'll just carry forth with your 2 names, Bola and Caracas, and that will be in effect until this time next year. Okay, so it's Ms. Bola is the legislative liaison and Ms. Caracas as the alternate. Okay. We'll get it straight. And I think, well, you're going to be out of town, right? But there's 4 of us who will be in Tampa next week at the Florida School Board Association Conference. And I understand that our own Nicole Snyder is going to be receiving an award down there. We're going to be seeing you down there. And then, are you coming over? You're going to speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, goody.
No, I'm not going to speak to that.
I know, you're going to superintendents.
After that thick a presentation, we may not want to clean it.
I was going to invite you through the chair, but I don't know if you want to. I get an hour.
You said
and the
62
audience is-
pages? I don't think so.
Yeah, the audience is around 1,000, so I'm excited to go speak.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for
Scoop.
representing us, Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you. It's an
Do it
honor to be
well.
asked. Thank you.
school board member remarks. Ms. Bola, I don't think I've ever started with you.
This is so exciting.
let's-
I don't have a
let's-
lot to say, but I
Oh,
have to
dear.
do a shout out to,
Hey, remember this?
I saw, you can get that ready. I'm not going to speak a long time. I have to say a shout out to two schools. One is Argyle Elementary. Always love being at Argyle. I got to promote, well, sort of promote, I guess, via Miss Ward, our sixth graders this year. And that was the last class that I taught. And so it was incredibly special to be there. And in addition, I was allowed to do Oak Leaf High School's graduation this year. I had no idea how emotional I would be afterwards. During it, I couldn't stop grinning ear to ear, watching the students that we had spent an entire year together. That was a self-contained classroom. And so there were 23 or 24 students. One particular young man had moved to Atlanta, came back for graduation.
Oh, my.
It was incredibly special to see all of those students. A shout out to each and every one of them and their successes, and good luck, all graduates. Thank you for a marvelous school year. To all of the students and the teachers, thank you to each and every one of you for everything that you do, and our administrators. Have a marvelous summer. That's it.
Okay. Ms. Gilhousen?
I just want to give a congratulations to all of our students on their accomplishments. I attended some of the award ceremonies, and it's phenomenal, the caliber of students that we have here in Clay County and their achievements. So incredibly proud and honored to serve on this board where we serve such stellar families and children. Congratulations also to all of our graduates. I know that they're off to bigger and better things in their future, and we wish them all the best. And I just hope that everybody has a safe and restful summer.
Ms. Kirikas?
I think Ms. Gilhousen and Ms. Bola covered everything. Mr. Brodsky and myself had the honor of doing the Middleburg High School's graduation ceremony, and it was wonderful. It's always, that's my favorite time of year, is to see our kids, walk across that stage. You're so proud of them. Most all of them have a smile. I was hoping for the girls' side, but they don't separate them because those boys kill you when they shake your hand. I was like, ouch. But no, it was all really, really wonderful. And, there were so many things that we've all gone to this year that, I won't go into. It's been a wonderful year. And now we have our work cut out for us over the summer to work on budget and figure out what we're going to do with these, health insurance issues. And so we need to really buckle down on all of that. And I just wish everybody a safe and happy summer. And thank you to all our, like you said, all our teachers and our support employees that work so hard for us. And I hope that we can keep them all. Really do. So thank you.
Ms. Condon?
Well, I had a wonderful time at Clay High, Mr. McCauley and I. And the swirl, if you've never been to Clay High and seen the swirl at the end of graduation, it's a sight to behold. It's called the swirl. We do need to revise our gun policy, and I know it's not called that, but the policy where we have weapons on campus. We talked about it back in April. Mrs. Bola recalled the number of it, and it says that only licensed law enforcement officers will have guns on our campuses, so we will need to revise that, Mr. D'Agata, prior to the school year beginning. So in light of our new school safety officers, and I know that you have talked to us about a risk management policy, and I think that probably has to be reflective of these school safety officers as well. So I'm willing to help in any way if I need to bring that item on a board agenda, but I didn't know if we could direct him to work on those two policies.
Oh, yeah.
Can I ask a question along those lines? Do you mind if I ask a question along those lines? It was brought to my attention. There's some concern in the community about how at our schools we have signs posted that say we're a gun-free zone. And it's been suggested that that's a security risk. And I wasn't sure if that's something that's mandated that we have to have on our property or if that's at our discretion.
So through the chair, we'll definitely look into it, determine whether or not it's a requirement. I honestly don't know of any requirements that have been identified. I'll go and we'll work collectively and figure out if we need to remove them or if we need to keep them up.
Hey, it might be a good idea. Somebody said, well, gee, that's like saying this
Right.
is an easy place to come if you want to
Right.
cause trouble.
Right.
Let's keep them guessing.
Right.
You know, we may not advertise everything we're doing.
Exactly.
You
And
know,
that, I
let 'em
think that was a
wonder.
great point, that it is
Yeah.
something we should consider in light of recent events.
Might not be a bad idea just to let them wonder what we've got.
Right.
Come and find out. Okay.
I also wanted to spotlight a program that I certainly didn't know was going on, and I don't think has been highlighted in our schools. I was able to sit in a presentation. Big Brothers Big Sisters is taking over the mentor program at Keystone Elementary, and they want to expand. But what I didn't know is that they have had a site-based program at Charles E. Bennett for Big Brothers Big Sisters with the Green Cove Springs Police Department, where those police officers have been going into Charles E. Bennett and mentoring our students. And I just wanted to highlight that and tell them thank you. I don't think they get enough, kind of the unsung heroes, and I know that that means a lot to those kids. That would make sense now why when we go read at Charles E. Bennett, they always ask if we're going to play kickball.
They
Because
always
the
play
Green
kickball.
Cove
They
Springs
have it
police
here.
are really great kickball players. And on a personal note, if you'll indulge me, I'm very proud that I became a military mom yesterday, and so I'm very proud.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Mrs. Stutter, before you go, can I add something? You just made me think of it. I spoke to Mayor Karen Lake in Keystone today, and I asked her how many students graduated with dual enrollment with an AA degree. And every year, Keystone Heights High School has more than the whole district,
Right.
and I believe the number was 24. So a shout out to them, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't recognize Bannerman graduates and Clay Virtual graduates. So congratulations to all of them.
And you know, that is the highest number in all of Santa Fe College.
Yeah.
That is more than at their main campus with 20,000 students.
They work very hard down there.
And all
How
the
about
kids
that?
go
We're very
schools,
proud
yes.
of them.
Yay, team. Okay, my turn. I had the honor of going to Fleming Allen High School to their graduation. I was on the girls' side, so my hand didn't get squeezed, but it was a beautiful graduation. You know, when we were at the, what were we at that afternoon? Virtual school graduation at 4 o'clock. The monsoon came, but we were inside at Ridgeview High School for that, but we had to get to our cars. And everybody, because we were going, all but Ridgeview, going to the football field, we were praying for the rain to stop. And it cleared up in time for graduation. The sky was blue. Everything was, it was a little wet, but that's okay. But everything just went perfectly. And they had 580 graduates. It was a lot of graduates that night, but it was fun. And I look forward to next week's conference, and I'll see you in Tampa. And if there's no further business to come before the board, the meeting is adjourned.